Hello. Hello, we are live. Today, I'm going to be joined by a very special guest, and we'll be talking about finding our strategies for motivation. And let's just bring our special guest in today. She is the expert on motivation, so I'm just waiting for her to come on. And let's see. Yes. Last week, I sent out a poll asking, it was actually a couple of weeks ago, asking what was the thing. Hey,
Are we there? Okay.
Awesome. Angie Brown-Harris, I'm so excited to be joined by you today and have this discussion on motivation. It seems to be, I sent out this poll a couple of weeks ago asking people what was stopping them from starting a weight training program or continuing to do a weight training program. And it wasn't fear, and it wasn't that they didn't know how, or there was a lesser percentage that said that. The overwhelming response was lack of motivation. So I thought, I'm getting my motivation expert on here to have this discussion. So I'm excited to get started, but I want to give my community a little bit of background information on you. Angie is a licensed massage therapist. She's a functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioner and a mindset and motivational coach. Her professional passion is to help people become unstuck and find the power inside of themselves that somehow they lost along the way. I love that. I love that mission statement. She helps individuals become their own kind of badass every day. And let me tell you, this woman is a badass and inspires me. All I have to do, Angie, is look at your reels and I'm like, oh, I gotta get myself up. I gotta get moving, man. She's out here at the crack of dawn running in 10-degree weather. So yeah, so I'm really excited to dive into this topic today. It's so important. And, here's the problem that I see in my practice and in what women are telling me is that they're getting out there and they're walking because I think it's the easier thing to do and they're used to it. So most of the women that I see are, they're walkers. They're out there walking, they're doing it, but this is a new activity because we know with the research, walking is not enough. It's not enough to build bone density. We have to add in this resistive training. So before we get into it though, I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey and how you came to be the mindset and motivational coach.
That's a good question. I feel like I have been a fairly motivated person most of my life. That stems from, I am the child of an ultramarathoner. Before ultramarathoning was cool.
I didn't know that.
Yes, my dad has been a runner my entire life. And so I watched him train always, just coming home from work and he would go out for a run and it was just part of what he did. It was never like, this is what you have to do. This is what you should do. That's one of my least favorite words is should, but it was always just kind of modeled there. I grew up doing the thing that made the most sense to me, even if it didn't make sense to other people. So like I was on the dance team, but I also played softball. Like those things don't typically jive, and then you grow up, you buy a house, you get married, like you do the things, you become a parent. And then all of a sudden, like many of the people watching here, I'm sure you're in your 30s and all of a sudden you hold all these labels, mother, wife, employee, whatever. And all of a sudden you're looking around like, who am I and what do I actually like to do? I have forgotten all of these things. So in finding those things and coming back to that, that is how I became a mindset and motivation coach, because I saw all of these people struggling in this way. And this was the thing that I felt like I could help and bring to them. So that's,
I love that.
I didn't really find my love for fitness until I was in my 30s. If I'd be perfectly honest, if you would have asked my 20-year-old self that at 45, would I have run 10 marathons and be training for an ultra marathon? I'd have been like, you're out of your mind. But here we are.
Amazing, amazing. So maybe what we do is even just to kind of back this up to what is motivation? You know, what's the definition of motivation?
Yeah, and I think that's where people get confused because they feel like motivation is like, oh, I should feel like doing these things all the time. I should be motivated to do fill in the blank, right? Like go to the gym, clean the house, balance your checkbook, whatever it is. But motivation, if we break down the word into motive and action, what is the reason that you are doing it? What is the motive? What is the intention behind the behavior, the action? That is what motivation is. And so if you're not motivated to go to the gym to add strength training to your routine, PS, not my favorite thing to do either. Right. But like, I think that we have to take it back to the why. Like, what is the reason that you want to strength train? Or what is the reason that you feel like strength training could be a part of your life? Is it to be healthy? That's too big. Like, it's too broad. It's too filtered. Like, we got to get down to the granular. What is your reason for picking up that weight? Is it so you can still pick up a gallon of milk when you're 85? Is it to be able to go up and down the stairs with ease? Is it to be able to get out of the car when you go visit your grandkids? Like, what is your reason for doing those things? Because if you only do the things that you feel like doing, come on.
Exactly. Exactly. I am so resonating with everything that you're saying here. And it's why I'm always talking about it. We can't just say, I want to build, you know, I'll get a lot of people that will just say, look, I want to improve my bone density, but why? So it has to be, I want to improve this so that I can do fill in the blank. And so for me, I want to be stronger. I have a vision of myself 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road and further. I want to be stronger than I am right now so that I am not depending on someone to take my luggage off the carousel. I can lift my luggage in the overhead. Notice I'm thinking of travel, right? So, and I can travel and do the things that everybody else is doing. I don't want to be left behind. I want to be an active participant in life. I still want to be able to dance. I want to be able to do all the things. I want to, God willing, someday and have children, grandchildren, I want to be able to pick them up. Right. And this is a big issue for a lot of women my age, but I also have younger women that are having difficulty picking up their children because of osteoporosis. There's a big fear around it. So picking up the garden soil, I mean, all of these things, if we love gardening, we don't want to be limited by not being able to lift things up or not being able to bend over in the correct way and feel like we're going to break a bone. So I think the motivation, I love that you're bringing it back to the why. It's so important. Everything starts up here with how we're thinking about it, because otherwise, you know, and the other thing that you said too is we can't wait for the perfect, we're going to all of a sudden get motivated. That's just a myth.
And as you build habits, right? Like as you do the thing, you start small and easy in the building. I think there's 2 points that I would like to make. One, if you only do the things that you want to do or feel like doing, or you wait to feel like doing it before you do it, you're going to wait forever. I go running by myself in the dark 3 mornings a week. Do you think I feel like doing that? Absolutely not. right? But
I'm sure you don't.
what I like is the feeling when I'm done. That
Exactly.
is what I really like, is the feeling when I am done. So people often ask me, like, how do you motivate yourself? Like, when you don't feel like doing it, what do you think about? And I 100% think about my future self. Am I going to be happy? Am I going to be proud of myself for staying here on this couch and not going to the gym or not completing the workout that I said I was going to do? No. So then I will go and do it, because the reality is I want to be proud of myself on the other side. Some days that comes with, I am exhausted and I am fatigued. And the best thing for me to do right now is to sit down. Like, those are two different things, right? Like,
Right.
my body is exhausted and I need to rest. That's a different thing than, I just don't feel like it. Like, those are whoa, there's a balloon. What is that?
I don't know.
Clearly, I made a very important
I didn't
point,
do
because
that.
Instagram
Yeah.
just
I think
celebrated me. That was fun.
it's exactly what you just said. Yeah, they
And I
loved
think
it. Instagram loved
that
it.
was fun. And I think it's also important to recognize, because I have felt this way too when I was starting a strength training program, that I feel like I should be able to lift more weight than I can. I should, oh my gosh, there's thumbs.
All
What
right.
is this? I don't know.
We're getting positive reviews here.
I'm getting all kinds of fun. So I should be able to lift more than I can, or I should be able to walk farther than I do. I should be able to do more than I can. And I think that holds people back also from stepping in and doing something that is uncomfortable. And it's not even that lifting the weight is uncomfortable. It is recognizing that my body isn't actually where I want it to be, except the only way to get there is to step into that discomfort, is to step into that uncertainty of like, this feels awkward and this feels weird and I don't like this. So I think that there's some of that to recognize too, that is an absolutely normal experience.
Yes, and I just want to also interject a little bit here for people that may be just starting a resistive exercise program. I always say this, please find out what your baseline is with a professional.
Yes.
So, because we want to embrace the uncomfortable, but not to jeopardize the body, right?
Yes.
So it needs to be done correctly. So I always say, look, get yourself evaluated by a physical therapist first, so you know your baseline and you learn the correct technique, because it can be uncomfortable in your brain, but you don't want it to be to a point that it's jeopardizing the body in any way. But yes, it's unfamiliar territory, which is uncomfortable. And something that you mentioned too about, this becomes habit for you. Can you talk a little bit about, how long it takes for things to become habit, where you associate it to the good response? Because that's what you're talking about. Like, I'm associating it, I'm thinking about my future self, and I'm associating it with that good feeling I get, right? So it's like you kind of start, you maybe not want to start, but you kind of conjure up, look, how do I want to feel? I'm going to, in 30 minutes, I'm going to feel empowered. I'm going to feel stronger. So how long in general does it take us to get to that point? And I know 21 days is not
I was like,
that doesn't work anymore.
Days.
It's not 21 days. It's more than that, right?
The reality is, it takes as long as it takes.
True.
Like, every single person is going to be different in that. Like, one person may walk into the gym and have this really great workout, and they get evaluated by their trainer, and they have this experience, and they're being social and all this stuff, and they're like, this is the best day of my life, and everything changes for them right then. Right. And other people, it may be 3 months. Other people, it depends on the person and their experience. So it really, there's no like magical, but the more you keep doing it, the easier it's going to get. Let me just give you a personal example. I just started adding strength training to my workout routine. I am a cardio girl. If I'm going to work out, the thing that I love is to get a good sweat and go for a run or something like
It
that.
feels good, right? It's such an easy endorphin high when we
endorphins make people happy.
Exactly.
Happy people their husband.
Right?
Like that's really what it comes down to. So I love to run. And I know that strength training is important. So I'm like, this training cycle, I'm adding strength training. And one thing that I've always wanted to do that I've never been able to do is a pull-up. I just want to be able to do one strict pull-up. So my trainer that writes my program, she's doing these banded pull-ups, right? Like you put yourself in this rubber band.
Exactly.
Feel like you should be able to shoot yourself to the moon,
Right.
except you don't. And you're like, this is still very hard.
Yes.
And I said to her, like, when does this get easier? Like, I keep doing this and it doesn't feel like it gets easier. But I kept doing it and I kept doing it because I knew at some point it was going to be easier. 8 weeks. It was 8 weeks for me that all of a sudden I was like, oh, that feels easier.
There it is.
I still haven't done it without the rubber band.
Oh, that's
like I'm still
okay.
I'm still in the slingshot, but it feels easier than it did. So we just have to find the little victories to help us keep moving forward. And I also want to make the point that you made earlier about getting evaluated with a trainer and with a PT. And I think that that's integral. And you may find that you're actually stronger than you think you are. Like there are times when I would pick up one weight and she would go, no, like put that one down. You can do this one. Like we have these, aren't always able to evaluate our own strength on both ends of the spectrum. So you may be able to do more than you think that you can.
Yes. So yeah, just absolutely underscoring that importance of getting that evaluation done by a professional to see. But, you know, I think the other thing that, you know, what you're saying is really persist until, you know, keep going. And the other piece here, and this is through research that tells us when we celebrate the good wins, it cements it in our neural circuitry so that we'll do it again. So I think that's a really important strategy. A really important strategy is to celebrate those little milestones. You did a little bit more weight, you were able to do a better form. All of those are milestones. And also, you know, coupling with that, getting an accountability partner or somebody that's doing it with you to help celebrate with you, not only to help keep you motivated, because I think community support, having an accountability partner is a big part of motivation and helping us to stay motivated, but also to celebrate those wins and literally, you know, jumping up and down and patting ourselves on the back. Like that seems silly, but it really does change the neurocircuitry for us so that we will continue to do the same things and keep moving forward. So it's all about just, you know, focus on the activity, not so much on the results. The results will come. You know, getting somebody that's supportive, that will help you to move forward, but also celebrate those small wins. So I love that.
The win can be simply you showed up and you did it. You don't have to do it bigger, better, farther, heavier, any of those things. Simply showing up and checking the box. Like I went to the gym today. I gave myself 10 minutes of strength training. I went for a walk when I didn't want to. Gold star.
Awesome. Awesome. So, Angie, do you have any other, I've got a couple other strategies to share. Do you have any other strategies for motivation that you like to use with your clients? And let me just also say, getting back to the mindset piece, I think some of the issue that I see women talk about, and certainly to me, is that they're being told they're frail. So their mindset is, I'm frail and my bones are going to break easily. So when we have this mindset, this is where we need to shift the mindset into, you know, something different. And along with that, what we're saying to ourselves. So if we are saying to ourselves that I'm frail and my bones will break easily, it's going to not keep us in that place of motivation to go do the work. And so I like to say, look, I'm strong. I'm stronger than I think, and I'm getting stronger every day. And so it changes us from a frail mindset into more of an athlete mindset. And I think if we could have more of that athlete mindset, that will help bring us more toward our goal as well, and help to get us a little bit more motivated. So I do see that a lot, where women say, I'm frail, I'm being told I'm frail, and they just kind of get stuck. And, you know, exactly like what you're saying, you help people get unstuck. They get stuck there in that mindset.
My first thought is, that's somebody else's opinion. That's not your truth. Like, somebody else's opinion is that you are frail.
Mm-hmm.
That is not your truth.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion is, and please take it for your own, is that you are a badass. And whatever you can do, whatever feels hard to you, which may not feel hard to anybody else, but if it feels hard to you and you do it anyway, boom. Like, that could be walking to the end of the block. That could be picking up a 1 pound weight. Like, if you are doing it and you feel good about it, end of story.
Absolutely.
Like, that is there's
that was me. That was me. That's awesome. I'm an athlete. I did it anyway. I'm an athlete. It doesn't matter what level that you're at. Yeah. I'm an athlete is a whole different mindset. Huge. And a whole different way to get motivated than I'm frail and I'm going to break. And so I think we have to constantly monitor what's happening here. Yeah. Always. Like, what is happening here? I got to shift that. And the first part of that is just being aware. So it'd be interesting to hear, do people say that? Do they find themselves thinking that often? And how do we shift that? And we can shift what we're thinking.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah, because that I'm frail, or I can't, or I should, like, all of those things are not necessarily your voice. That's not necessarily your truth. It's something that you have heard somewhere along the way and taken on for your own. The reality is, because you did that, we can take on something new. Like, you can then say, I am an athlete. I am strong. I am a badass. I can lift heavy stuff. I can do hard things. Whatever the reality is that you are seeking, you can create simply with your thoughts and your action.
Yep, exactly. I love it. I think that's such a really important message for people. And something else that I wanted to just mention, because of the functional medicine practitioner in me, is that one of the major motivational hormones is dopamine.
Yeah.
And so one of the ways that we can increase our dopamine levels, and I think we have to stack the odds in our favor in order to be able to do these hard things like lift weights. Like, let's stack it in our favor. So if you feel that voice saying, oh, I just want to finish my walk and be done, and I don't have time, or I just don't want to, one of the things that you can do is a little bit of aerobic exercise. And that could just be that you get out and you take a brisk walk, or if this is appropriate for your body, to do maybe some jumping jacks just to get things flowing. And that can increase dopamine enough where you want to do a workout. And I'll give you an example, because I have a built-in accountability partner, my husband. I know you do too. And we kind of keep each other going on the strength training stuff, because it's not fun, but when we finish it, we feel really good. And over time, you're going to see the results of those efforts, those consistent efforts over time. So he likes to exercise towards the end of the day. I do not. I like to match my exercise with my circadian rhythm. So cortisol levels are higher in the morning for me. Angie, that's why you're out at 5 o'clock in the morning. Your cortisol levels also get you up and moving. So I like to do it in the morning. He likes to do it towards the end of the day. His preference, not mine. But he said, oh, I don't really feel like exercising today. I don't really feel like doing it. And I said, come on, let's go take a walk. and we took a really brisk walk. He came in and he goes, you know what? That really helped. He goes, I'm ready to do my work now.
Yeah.
So little things like this. The other thing too is, especially when it comes to weights, I have one person who puts his weights by his coffee pot.
Nice.
So where they're visible, so this is called stacking, you guys, where you take an activity that you always do and you bring your, whatever it is that you want to add on to it to that activity. So while he makes his coffee, he does this, and he does a lot of his upper body work with his weights. So again, it's helping you to get into that routine until it becomes, developed. It's, and Angie, I know you've spoken about this too, where we can develop this motivation muscle, right?
Right. Yep. It's a muscle just like any other. And just because one strategy didn't work for you today doesn't mean it won't work tomorrow, right? Just because you may have fumbled it a little bit today doesn't mean that it won't work tomorrow. And if you work at it for a while and you're like, this just is not working for me, give yourself permission to try something else. Like,
I love it.
It's okay to, try to work out in the evening when you feel like, working out in the morning works for so many people. Maybe it just really doesn't work for you. That's okay. Like, we're all individuals, and finding the way that works for you is really, really important, because that's where it's going to stick.
Exactly. I love that. Bioindividuality is what it's all about. And trying something different, even if one strategy didn't work, keep bouncing through the strategies until something sticks.
Yes.
And the other thing I would be remiss if we didn't talk about, just again, stacking the odds in our favor by getting good sleep. If we're not sleeping well, how motivated are we going to be to do anything the next day? Yeah.
Not.
So, yeah. So we can be better motivated the next morning, if that's when you want to exercise, by looking at what you're doing the night before. So, staying up late or eating late or any of these things are going to interrupt your normal sleep pattern and make us less inclined to want to get out of bed and do some kind of workout. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's part of the reason that I work out. I mean, there's a plethora of reasons I work out first thing in the morning, but then it's done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't you feel so good? It's like, yes, I did that. I did my whole meditation. I did my exercise. It's like, oh, good. I'm ready. I'm ready for the day. I don't have to
try and figure out where am I going to fit it in the rest of the day. Oh, I have to pick my kid up from practice and I have to do this and that and the other thing. Where am I going to fit it in? It's just done. And my reward at the end of my workout is coffee. So like, it's a perfect thing.
Yes, I love that. And so, Angie, do you schedule your workouts in? Are you a scheduler, or how do you do that?
Well, my weekday workouts, I guess I'm scheduled. I don't necessarily like write it on a calendar, but my weekday workouts, absolutely, they happen every day at the same time, which is that I always joke that I'm glad there's not an axe murderer in my neighborhood, because I'd be a very good target, because I leave my house at the exact same time every single day. At about between 10 minutes to 5 and 5 a.m. I am out the door every morning. And then on the weekends, it's a little more fluid depending on kids' schedules and other things. And I like to run in the daylight when I can, and that gives me the opportunity to do that. So
yeah, I mean, and it's what works for everybody. It's so routine to you that it doesn't even need to be on your schedule. But if you're just starting out, then it may be necessary to schedule it in. Otherwise, it doesn't get done.
Well, and here's what I want your audience to know is that at one point in my life, my 5 a.m. runs were 5:30 runs, because I was like, no, I'm not getting up that early. And I had a friend that I met to go running at 5:30 in the morning, 2 or 3 days a week. And if I got to her house and she had overslept or whatever, I went home. So like, this isn't how I have always been. This has been an evolution and a constant development into where I am now. And maybe 5 years from now, I'll be somewhere else. But know that looking at me, what I do not want you to hear or see is what you should be doing, because should for me is could covered in shame. What I want you to do is figure out what you can do, what you could be doing every day to bring you where you want to be. Maybe there's an example in my life that lands for you, and that's fantastic. But please find what works for you and not what you should be doing.
What a wonderful message. Thank you so much, Angie.
Pleasure. Awesome.
I'm so happy that we had this opportunity to discuss this. It's such an important topic. So where can people find you, Angie? And I will certainly pin it in the comments.
That little Instagram handle is the best place to find me. So
follow
along, DM me if there's anything I can support you with. That is my favorite.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your brilliance today. We appreciate you. I appreciate you. And for sure, if there are any questions that come in for people that do watch the replay, feel free to put them in the chat and we will get to them. But I hope this was helpful in giving you some strategies and just understanding what's behind the strategies and where we need to come from, you know, from a mindset first. I think it's really, really important. So thank you. Thank you. All right. Until next time. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining. All right. Bye-bye.